Hi, Andy Evans here, part 16 of making a guitar in your garage. Welcome. I've skipped a podcast. I had the flu. I'll basically explain what happened. It was the carving process of the back of the neck. The big lump on there. I cut with a coping saw. I rasped and I sanded. If I had a bigger bandsaw, I would have cut the excess off on the bandsaw, but I don't have, so I just did it with the coping saw, which is this. I used the rasp, lots of hand sanding, 40 grit, 60 grit, 80 grit, a couple of these things in the drill for inside the horns and stuff. Okay, so I'm just getting over this flu that I've had. And what I did, I put a base coat on it. I used a polyester base coat, a thin polyester base coat. There's been lots of controversy about polyester in the past. The problem with polyester is it's the stuff that you mix with fiberglass, you know, to make a boat or whatever. So if you put too much of the resin and you put too much on the guitar, it becomes like solid, you know, like a fiberglass guitar, and then you get no tone out of the guitar. Back in the 90s they were putting too much of it on, you know. I can understand why, because you sand it down, it fills the grain, you don't need a grain filler, it's very quick. You know, one day of spraying and the grain's all full and you're ready to put your colour on. So I can understand why companies use that. I've just used two very thin coats just as a grain filler, thinned it down with 50% thinner acetone, sprayed it, 2 hours later another coat, and it's done. So I've been quite busy, and then I put a colour on it. I put a white base colour. I think I'm going to go for like a creamy colour. It's just what I've got paints around, you know. My other job is painting yachts, and I sort of super yacht tables I varnish and things like that. So sometimes I have paint left over from jobs, and I paint the sterns as well and the hulls. So I used some Matterhorn white awlgrip. This is yacht paint, just as the colour. It's a polyester urethane. It's very good stuff, dries very hard. So a bit of a drum roll here. The last time you saw the guitar, the neck was getting glued on. I've carved away the back. I've put 2 coats of polyester on, and I've put 1 coat of white on it. And there we are. That's what we're up to at the moment. I haven't done anything with the fingerboard yet. I've just taken the fingerboard off. This is just a base coat. It's a bit rough. It needs a bit more, you know. I'm going to sand this down and put a cream on top. Maybe a pearlescent cream, I was thinking. So we're getting there. I'm not quite happy about this horn at the bottom of the maybe I change this. I think it's a bit too big. But I've carved the back. You can see, hopefully you can see this bit where I carved away, and I took a bit away that way, just so you didn't have a big lump here. But she's getting nice now. Very ergonomic, you know. Very comfortable to play. You can get all access to the frets here. And I quite like the fact that the neck's sticking out a bit longer than the Les Paul, you know, it's a bit stratty, like 24 fret Gibson long scale. So I'm happy with that. Just need to get a bridge. So the next stage would be to sand this down. Always when you're sanding, use a block. 3M rubber blocks are quite good, the flexible type. You can also get Velcro ones that are very flexible. I start with this type of block. You always want to use a block. If you don't use a block, when you spray, it'll be uneven. You use a block on the wood, and you also use a block on the lacquer and the varnish. You've got to be careful, obviously, not to go through. Even on the neck, I would use a block there. I would sand like this, you know, that way, you know, and then you get a nice flat surface down the neck. I don't know if you can see that, the shine of it, but it's all flat. 220 grit normally between coats. the 3M stuff, this purple stuff is fantastic. It's the latest stuff. It doesn't clog up, it's got holes in it. Always wear a mask. So that's what I'm up to. I'm ready to put the coat on. If you have any runs, a good idea is a file. I've made this file. It's also my fret skimming file. I bought a file from the hardware store, cut it in half, made the little mahogany handle and epoxied it on. If you're going to do that, always check the file. They always bend one way or the other. You don't want it bent this way if you're going to skim frets with it. It's better if it's bent that way slightly. It's only slight, you know, but they always bend one way or the other. So you want it bent this way, if you understand, like that, you know. So that's my fret skimming file. You know. Also, I use this for any runs. I will file them first and then sand. If you try and sand, you end up not getting rid of the run. It's still there. So this is my base coat anyway. So that's the next stage, is sand all this, prep it all. The fingerboard's got no lacquer whatsoever on it at the moment. Once I've got the correct colour, I'm going to take this tape off, level the fingerboard again, make sure it's perfectly level. I'll have to recut the fret slots, make them the correct depth. I use, that's my fret saw. I've just got a little piece of plywood on there with double-sided tape, and that's just the right depth. And I use that just to you know, clean them out. So stay tuned. The next podcast, this will probably be a cream colour. I've got another guitar on the go at the moment, which I'll show you when it's lacquered up. It's a lovely book matched veneered candy apple sunburst. So I'll show you that, because I'll be spraying them together, you know, I'll do the lacquering together. So it's always better like that. Okay, oh, I was just going to show you my compressor. I've just bought this little super silent air compressor. It's not silent, it's 59 decibels, but it's pretty good. They're normally about 94. It's just a small what's it called? It's a small chamber. So it runs quite a lot, but it's very quiet. It takes about 10 seconds to fill this up, so you just pause for 10 seconds and you're away again. I'm very impressed with it. It's 14 kilo. I can lift it very easily, and I can use it on the yachts that I work on. All painting stuff. It's portable. So that's what we're up to at the moment. Okay, if you like what you see, press the subscribe button. If you want to leave me any comments or anything, let me know. Eventually some of these guitars will be for sale, so if you're interested, leave me a message. I'll give you my email address. It's ajevans67@gmail.com. That's ajevans67@gmail.com. But I'll get a few finished first and see what you think. Okay, any suggestions, any comments, please leave me a message, and thanks for watching, and thanks for the people who've subscribed so far. I think I've got 5 or 6 subscribers now, which is quite impressed so far. Alright, thanks for that.